let's face it, all of our trauma was in connection. So like, I understand trauma lives in my body. I understand I need to address this at the level of the nervous system. Now what?
It seemed like almost like the world was about to explode because of my anger. I'm sitting here with Dr. Nicole, who's a somatic therapist and nervous system educator. And in some circles, she's been known as the somatic dominatrix. So she's been going through transition in terms of her work. And we're going to talk through some things with her and also dive in through an exercise that she's going to offer us and go from there. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get to where you are?
I would have to start with, I started with yoga because it's all I was interested in out of college. And I really like studying the body. And I got really interested to get to the root of people's pain. Okay. So that led me to getting my doctorate in physical therapy. I only lasted about 4 years in orthopedics when I realized people's pain is not just physical. There's a massive psychosomatic and nervous system component to people's pain. And in that world, I couldn't address, what was actually there, which was chronic nervous system dysregulation, which really stemmed from unresolved trauma. So I spent, 17 plus years filling in the gaps of what I thought Western science left out. And so that led me to study the nervous system and somatic therapy and the emotional body and trauma resolution and energy work and Kundalini and a bunch of things that gave me more of a holistic perspective of actually how can I help someone relieve suffering and emotional and physical pain, because I saw that it was so connected.
Beautiful. And so the past 17 years, what are some of the things that you've been offering and helping your clients with?
Some of the things that people come to me with? Yeah, a lot of people at this point, I should say, I've treated so many things under the book. A lot of people for a long time coming to me with physical pain. And then I would say, more recently over the last, 5 years, really, coming to me whenever they've reached a plateau with talk therapy. Mm-hmm. They've sort of been through the ringer of Western medicine. Yeah. And they're like, okay, like I understand trauma lives in my body. I understand I need to address this at the level of the nervous system. Now what? Yeah. and that's kind of when I get people. And so, so I, have an arsenal, so to speak, of, how to address the emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual body. And so, at this point, I get a lot of people that they understand those things. They just don't know what's the next step, right? And I get a lot of, because I have a facilitator training for my method, which is called Somatic Reparenting. And I'll work with practitioners, clinicians and therapists. And a lot of them, wounded healers that have beautiful hearts of service, and they've done so much personal growth work. Yeah. And yet they're still chronically dysregulated in their nervous system and exhausted. And I can relate because I had no idea, about energetic or physical boundaries. Yeah. When I was a physical therapist, I ended up completely exhausted. And so I love, kind of helping the wounded healer that is, really offering their services from a place of overgiving, of people pleasing. It's kind of from the trauma response or from the dysregulation. And so, for anybody that's a space holder, I would say 95% of the work, if not 99% of the work, is showing up in a regulated state, because that's when the other person's nervous system, without any conscious thought, that person's nervous system can co-regulate with yours, and then they feel open and they feel trusting and they feel safe with you, and then their body actually has the potential to heal with you.
Absolutely. So if you were to give us like an idea or a example of having someone come to you who is unregulated, they're either burnt out or not sure exactly what's going on with their body. What is sort of like, what is it? What do you take them through?
I would say no one session looks the same.
Yeah.
I can give you sort of a common example of a session, which is, or what people come to me with. A lot of people come to me in a chronic freeze response. And I think this is because I had to learn how to get myself out of a chronic freeze response. I went through a pretty dramatic divorce in 2020, found myself quite frozen, quite rigid, and kind of dove down the rabbit hole of studying all things polyvagal theory, Dr. Stephen Porges's work, which is the most recent research of how we know the nervous system to work. Needed to learn how to unfreeze my own system, needed to get really serious about my own reparenting work.
Yeah.
And so I get a lot of people going through massive transitions, whether it's, work, family, home life, divorce, breakup, whatever it is, and their system's really overwhelmed and really in a state of collapse a lot of the time, where there's no energy. They just want to withdraw. They just want to connect. They just want disconnect. They just want to avoid.
Yeah.
And they kind of just, the excuse is like, I'm just too tired. I don't have the energy for that, And so it's this state in the nervous system I know very well that it's like to me, like a chronic freeze state. It's a certain hell to live in.
Yeah.
Because even when we're shut down in that way, we can still be running a lot of anxiety, So it's like, I don't have the energy to move, but I'm still so dysregulated. I feel so dysregulated in my body. And so I get a lot of people going through massive transitions, totally overwhelmed and exhausted and highly distracted. And, 9 times out of 10, the people that come like that have been giving so much and people-pleasing so much and self-abandoning so much. And there's so much resentment and anger built up in the body.
Yeah.
And repressed, a lot of times since childhood. And eventually, what will bring someone out of a freeze response is to develop a healthy relationship with your anger, which is also to develop a healthy relationship with your power. And I don't know how much you want me to get into the science behind it of like why that is, but it's just that, to put it really simply, the freeze state, it is an immobilized state of the nervous system. And if you think of a ladder, this is the autonomic ladder, that's the bottom of the ladder. Say the top of the ladder is a regulated state, ventral vagal state is what it's called. And so to get out of that immobilized state, we actually have to go to the middle of the ladder, which is the sympathetic nervous system. So that's the side of the nervous system that mobilizes our energy. And so that's the side that, we can use our movement, our breath, and our sounds to move energy, right?
Yeah.
To move energy and get back to a regulated state. It's just that none of us were taught how to do this stuff.
Right.
None of us were. And so, it's interesting because fight or flight, people that register, have more of a default of like an upregulated state, which is like fight or flight. Like you get angry or you just want to run, right?
Yeah.
Like the only reason, or you're anxious all the time, the only reason that the body registers that as fight or flight is if the body's not sensing safety. However, if we learn through our 5 senses how to orient the body to safety, that same energy is that mobilizing energy that will make you go for a workout or go for a dance or go for a walk with a friend, that's very productive.
Yeah.
So the only difference is the body registering safety or not.
Amazing. So if I were to come to you dysregulated, you would help me discover my emotions, feel my anger, and tune into finding safety. Is that correct?
Yeah.
In some ways, like simplified. I'm simplifying.
Super simplified, and it's one example of like what a session could look like. And when I was taking myself through my own healing, and unfreezing my own nervous system and studying Dr. Stephen Porges's work who created polyvagal theory, I found his protocol called the Safe and Sound protocol. And so it is an acoustic intervention for the vagus nerve. So you have to put the over-the-ear headphones on. Mm-hmm. And it is a neural exercise that increases capacity and resilience in the nervous system. So not just like music, I'm trying to calm myself down, but actually a neural exercise that puts a progressive demand little by little on the system to increase capacity and resilience. And so the moment I found it, I was like, I'm taking that provider training because I need it.
Yeah.
And then I just started to implement it into my online programs. And I just saw every single person that went through the Safe and Sound protocol, their progress just accelerated like this. Amazing. And so it's like brings the physiology back to a baseline of safety, helps the nervous system basically optimize its ability to regulate itself. And it's meant to be paired with some other therapy. So a lot of times I'll pair it with my method, which is called Somatic Reparenting, because it just helps people process whatever unresolved trauma is there that maybe they've been avoiding for many years because they think that's going to overwhelm me, or those emotions it's going to be too much for my system. So it helps people to, go through what they need to process without so much overwhelm and collapse. And so I often will work with people over like a minimum of 5 weeks so that I can slowly take them through that process at the same time going through the somatic work.
Nice. One of the things through my own personal growth that I noticed was when I came across, I wouldn't call it a new emotion, but when I first started feeling my emotions, it seemed so grand, right? Mm-hmm. And it seemed like almost like the world was about to explode because of my anger and right, or whatever emotion that I was trying to tap into at the moment, until I started to little by little play with it, and it eventually got smaller and smaller. Mm-hmm. So I think that for people to realize that our emotions are big if we haven't tapped into them, and they're not as damaging, or I would say as fearful as we might think, if we have the right tools, like some of the tools that you mentioned, to be able to go and access them little by little.
Yes. And I would say one of the biggest things for me over the last 5 years is I teach it's a feminine embodiment practice called S Factor.
Yeah.
And I also teach it to men though, because it's epic. And it's like the best somatic therapy I found. And with S Factor, it's like, how can I identify my emotional experience and then match that with my somatic expression? And in that, it creates congruency, right? Congruency of, okay, what I feel, my actions match my words, right? My energy matches my words. So how do I become congruent? Which a lot of people with unresolved trauma have a lot of incongruency, right?
Yeah.
And so S Factor, it was like gold to me, teaching me, like I can work through my anger. At the same time, I can orient myself to pleasurable sensation in the body. And it's just it looks like nonlinear movement. Think like really, really slow wave circles, spirals in the body, slows the body way down. And then in that, maybe it feels like a really nice neck stretch, and you can orient to that. But at the same time, I'm using muscle exertion and kind of letting the anger burn through my muscles.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was taught that, I was like, oh, that is so relieving, because I think I've been exhausting myself trying to like process like my lineage of anger or something for so long. Right. And I decided some years ago, it's like, we don't have to heal with so much intensity. Mm. And I just decided, I was like, I'm just done doing this with so much intensity.
Yeah.
And started to just orient myself to how can we do this through play and pleasure and joy and delight? Because the nervous system actually learns way, way faster through play anyway.
How do you, when you say intensity, I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, like yelling and screaming, right? Is that what you mean by intensity?
It could be intense anger. It could also be any sort of intense emotional experience. It could be intense grief, right? Like if you're experiencing a lot of grief, you could process that grief in a very dysregulated way, where you're collapsed and it's taking over you and takes you into depression, right? Yes. And that's like a freeze response. Or, you could build capacity to be with the part of you that feels that way sometimes, which is often the inner child, Yeah. And we could process grief in a regulated way where, it's not collapsing me. It's not overwhelming me. I'm not throwing the second dart on myself like, oh, you're wrong for feeling this way, or it's bad that you feel sad. I think that's honestly half my work is how do we normalize the full emotional range of being human from pain to pleasure, because whether it's, sympathetic charge in the body or erotic charge in the body, the nervous system needs capacity for both.
Absolutely. Yeah. Would you say that can we express anger in a regulated way where we're not going over the edge, where it's, we sort of become dysregulated and we sort of like disassociate? How would you stay, for some of the guys out there, if they wanted to express their anger, how would you recommend they stay in a regulated place where they're expressing their anger versus going over the edge? Or let's just say any emotion, actually, not just anger. But I feel like a lot of the guys are connected more to the emotion of anger. So
And a lot of men tend to have that default of upregulation of fight or flight in the system. So it's a good example to use for men. And so, yes, if you're repressing anger, eventually that just means you're suppressing sympathetic charge in the body. And eventually the body's going to become overwhelmed and kind of head towards that freeze response, right?
Yes.
So already, if I'm using my movement, my breath, and my sounds to express my anger in a healthy way, I'm making my way kind of up that autonomic ladder to a regulated state, you could say. So the best thing to do, and this is my personal opinion, this is what I also learned in S Factor, is to put it into your muscles, like anger specifically. So get yourself in a, half lower down into a push up and hold, and start like whatever the emotion feels like, match the sound to it.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a wall sit, and just like, or a squat, and just like come in and just like put the burn of anger into your muscles, you know? And so as long as and this can be a little bit different for everybody, but let's say, well, here, I'll ask you. So when you feel angry, what's the somatic urge in your body typically?
It goes into my hand.
It goes into your hands.
Like the fist.
Yeah, and I see you
I like clenching my fists. Yeah.
Okay, so we always want to follow like the somatic urge of the body, right? So for you, you're like, you feel your hands starting to come into a fist. So you would let that happen. And then is it like you're needing to punch something? You're wanting to push away. You're wanting to say no, whatever it is. Give yourself a safe space to do that, whether it's on the pillow or the bed. A great thing is if you have, a co-regulator with you, and you can, put hands on each other's shoulders, and then it gives you something to push up against. You're just matching each other's resistance. That's a really good way to do it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's always following the somatic urge of the body. And so whatever that is for you, because think of like trauma is a incomplete response of the nervous system. So it's all the times you didn't get to fight back, all the times you didn't get to run away, so when those triggers come up, tuning into sensation in your body, because sensation's how our nervous system communicates to us. And then following, okay, I have a sensation. Okay, it's in my hands. I feel tension. Okay, I'm wanting to literally make fists, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like you can make a fist so much that your arms start to shake like this.
Oh, yeah.
And then big breaths in. And what does that anger sound like? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
I tend to go in kind of like a big cat energy. And so this sort of guttural, growl comes out in me. Like you could hiss, whatever it is, whatever you would say, like your frustration, your irritation, your rage, your anger, whatever it sounds like. Can you match that feeling to a sound at the same time you're going through, letting your body follow through with the somatic urge?
Beautiful. And just a note for our listeners and our viewers, like making sure that you do this in a safe space. Like doing it in an environment where the people around you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So you're not triggering them, and you're not, you're not, dysregulating their nervous system now.
Yeah, I have a funny example about that, because when I was going through my divorce, I was literally waking up like 10 out of 10 anger, just like, oh my God, like there's so much energy in my body. Like, what do I do with all this energy? And I lived, people lived very close around me. And I'm like, people are going to think I'm like absolutely in distress if I go into this. And so all I knew to do is living on the North Shore of Kauai at the time. And so I would go to my favorite beach, Tunnels Beach, and I would just go into the ocean. I would take a big breath, and I would go under the water, and I would just scream and swap my arms under the water. I'd come up, exhale, go into the water, like under the water. And I would literally just do it till exhaustion.
Yeah.
Which I don't recommend. You don't have to do it that way. And then I would just go collapse on the floor, on the beach, with my womb until I did it for like 5 months. It's all I knew to do with myself. And I'm a bit of a mermaid. And so the ocean's very sacred to me. And so the ocean's also this really beautiful container, for you when you feel, totally at your wit's end, so to speak. And like, there is no containment, or who was containing you is no longer around, it's like, and so it was a beautiful example. So if you are in that kind of space where it's like, where would I ever be able to do this? One is under the water, a pool, a hot tub, a bath, if you don't have access to the ocean. And then the second is in your car. So close the doors, all the windows are up. Maybe you put some angry music on, and then just go for it, and let yourself, even like when, somebody pisses you off on the road or something, don't just swallow it down, just let it out, like in that moment, whether it's like you are like the cussing or, hitting your steering wheel, like actually do that. It's healthy. You're not hurting anybody. You're just moving the energy.
Absolutely. Yeah. I hold the steering wheel while I'm driving. Yeah. And when I'm angry, I'll like shake the steering wheel really hard. I'm like, oh. Such a good release. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just more and more, it's like the thing that's going to give anyone sustainable change in the nervous system is building this responsiveness in the nervous system. Because when we've had a lot of unresolved trauma, we've been chronically dysregulated, it's like the nervous system gets stuck in these states of freeze or stuck in states of fight or flight. And so the dysregulation itself isn't a problem, but if we get stuck there, it's a problem because there's no system of the body that can heal if we're chronically dysregulated. Yeah. So you're talking digestion, muscles and joints, the brain, your sleep will be affected. It's your entire, every system of the body is affected. And so I always like to emphasize that with people. Don't get down on yourself if you go into freeze or you go into fight or flight, you go into a fawn response. Like, it's not a problem as long as you don't get stuck there.
Right.
The name of the game is building responsiveness, and you could say flexibility in the nervous system to be able to go in and out of these states.
How would you recommend someone, first and foremost, notice? Because I think the first step for a lot of us, especially men, is to notice, hey, I am going into fight or flight. I am going into, freeze. Mm-hmm. So how would you say that they would be able to tune into their body well enough to recognize, oh yeah, that's where I'm at?
Yeah, this is like the main thing that I teach people for sure. And so I would say, let me ask you, when you go into fight or flight, is it mostly, what's the emotion? Is it mostly anger, like frustration?
Yeah, okay. Frustration.
So I'd ask you, like, how do you know in your body that you're angry?
How do I know in my body?
Through physical sensation.
I'd say my belly's really tight.
Okay.
I'm noticing my jaw wanting to like clench. So my jaw.
Yep. So tension in the belly and the jaw. What else?
I feel very distant from my heart. I'm not really connected to my heart.
Mm-hmm. And is the heart rate elevated?
Yes.
Like maybe a faster heartbeat?
Yes, faster heartbeat. And my physical body feels hot. There's some heat. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
So it's literally just taking, this is particularly for men, but women too, for sure.
Yeah.
Taking all of our mental energy, everything in the world like takes us into our mind here and up and out of the body. And so taking all the mental energy and literally breathing it in and down into awareness of somatic sensation, meaning physical sensation. And so I would ask you the same thing if you had like chronic anxiety. How do you even know that you're anxious? Because a lot of people just go into the mind, I'm anxious, and this is why, and this is the story, and and then they just ruminate on the story. Yeah. But the main thing to remember, if you don't remember anything else I say, remember that your state precedes your story. So meaning the physiological state of our nervous system in the body precedes the story. Okay. And so those of us that get stuck in the racing thoughts or the rumination or like the obsession, right? They get stuck in the narrative. You have to address the body first, because when we're in a defensive state, a survival state, the mind is going to be oriented towards negativity, towards worst case scenario, right?
Yeah.
And so if we can address the body, okay, what do I need to do with my body? Maybe it's going for a walk, maybe it's going to a kickboxing class or release some anger, whatever it is, however I can get my body to a regulated state, that is going to change my emotions and the thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I go to a somatic therapist. I have a somatic therapist. Amazing, amazing human. I love him so much. He always, whenever I would say something, like when I'm like, life is XYZ. This is, just about life. Like things suck today. And then he'd be like, all right, cool. Just go ahead and feel your body. Like he'd like make me breathe a few times. And then all of a sudden I noticed the thoughts start to shift. And I'm like, life is pretty good actually. Right? Like within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's pretty epic that you can change your state so easily once you're able to tune into it.
And one of the things that changes our state the quickest is actually just coming into connection with another human who's regulated in their nervous system.
Yes.
So I imagine your somatic therapist, comes in a regulated state, and it happens so fast in our own nervous system. Your nervous system starts to entrain to his co-regulation.
Yeah.
And it's one of the quickest ways, to get us out of dysregulation is to come into connection, and particularly with somebody that's regulated. And it's interesting because particularly in a freeze response, it's the last thing we want to do.
Totally.
I mean, I can say that. Like I was just absolutely did not want to bring myself into connection. I really went into a lot of isolation. I was living on Kauai, but not just on the remote island, in the most remote part of the most remote island it was called Deep Country. And I really isolated myself when I was in that chronic freeze response because I didn't feel safe.
Yeah.
I didn't feel safe around people. So it's one of if I would have known what I know now, back then I would have gotten myself, kind of down the road a little bit quicker, bringing myself consciously into connection, letting people hold me through the massive process I was going through, letting people support me, through the massive process that I was going through. But it was a lot of, trauma with different people, men and women, and betrayal and all this stuff. And so it was just, I didn't trust. I didn't feel safe.
Yeah.
But I didn't know at the time, one of the most healing things for me is to keep receiving new imprints of safe connection with men, with women, but in that chronic freeze, it's the last thing you want to do because nobody feels safe. You don't feel safe around people. And so I've been saying this a lot lately, which is we can do all this trauma work and, emotional release work and energy work on ourselves. But what the nervous system needs very consistently to heal is new imprints of safe connection with other humans.
Yeah, agreed. So community. Mm-hmm. Especially, I love that you said new imprints, is the idea behind when I was in my 20s, I drink a lot, go to the bars, right? Mm-hmm. And at some point in my life, something changed where I was like, I don't want to drink anymore. Mm-hmm. And so whenever I would go out with those guy friends, it would just be really weird because they'd be drinking and I wouldn't. So basically I had to find new friends. So I had to say goodbye to them and move on. So in some ways you might need to find new people. You might need to go find new friends who you can find new imprinting that's a lot more safer and able to they can meet you where you're at now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're just around friends that you're just repeating your story over and over again. And that's the way that you're connecting, because that typically just brings us into more and more dysregulation. And it's just, it happened for me. I see it happen for every client I've worked with, which is when you really choose to go in and do, the deep psychosomatic work, of healing your nervous system and rewiring some of these really deep, core wounds. When you really start to do that work, inevitably, two things, inevitably, your life force energy is just going to start to run more and more because you've just released all this old energy, which then is going to change your vibration. It's going to change your frequency, right? And so then the people that you resonated with before, right, it's just going to be a miss. It's just you're oh, wait, I don't really feel like I can connect with them as much. Or ruptures will happen, right, where, people are sort of slowly, drawn out of your life, for whatever reason. And I certainly went through that, couple big like friendship ruptures. I remember before leaving the island, and I remembered it, and intuitive was like about a year before it happened. She's like, your friend group is going to get small, and you're meant to let that happen so that new people that are more in alignment with you can come in. And I'm just seeing that now. This is like a year later. Nice. I'm just seeing that now, but it's a big trust fall whenever what you're experiencing is like ruptures and what feels like a lot of loss, in your life. But now, a year later, I can see, I kind of needed to be pulled out a bit, from certain dynamics because people were still in their trauma loops, and actually my energy was being siphoned. Mm-hmm. And so now I can see it. It makes sense to me now. But a lot of times when you're going through that process, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And it just feels awful. Yeah. And it feels like a lot of grief and a lot of loss and like, what the heck is actually like happening here? And a lot of times when everything is just blowing up and everything's kind of being uprooted, it's kind of like you have to be obnoxiously trusting. Because what else are you going to do? You're just going to like resist life, lifing you. It's just like, I'm just going to be so obnoxiously trusting and like lean into faith that this is like leading me to more alignment. And that oftentimes that looks like a lot of death and loss.
I love that you said that, like a lot of trust. Did you notice a sense of identity shift as well along that journey? Was that part of your experience?
How do you mean?
Because the way that what I'm hearing you say is the experiences that I've had that have taken me to, find new community or be with new people. Yeah. It felt like my mental state identity had to also shift, which was really, really hard to be like, this is not who I am anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm somebody else. And being in like sort of that like mystery of like, I don't know who the fuck I am anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say for sure. Yes. And as far as, personally, but also professionally. Yes. This is just, I get my life path is like, I see a lot of people, they stick with one thing and that's what they do their whole life. That just hasn't been my experience. And it's like going from like yoga teacher to physical therapist to somatic therapist to, trauma healer to energy healer, like all these things. And then, now I'm playing in the world of, power dynamics and healing trauma with conscious kink, I'm like, wow, like, okay, had no idea. Like, this is going to like lead me here. But because I can see the therapeutics of all these roles, and so there's an underlier, like for me of like, I always have wanted to really get to the root of suffering and get to the root of pain, that in a way that makes a sustainable change, like in someone's body. So there is like a common thread in my own way of like all these different things that I do. Yeah. But yes, like for me, it's been, both personally and professionally, like an identity shift. Cause even like personally, it's just like, I think that's why I got to San Diego in July. I had been in Kauai for 10 years. And it was like up until about 3 or 4 weeks ago, it was so heavy in my chest. It was like processing a lot of grief and heartbreak, and just landed as a lot of loss in my body. Yeah. And having to let go of the part of me that had this very safe island bubble that was very comforting, that I associated with safety. Yeah. And did a lot of healing on that island. And coming to realize like, whoa, actually there's a moment where the safety became limiting. And I started to say to people, I'm too comfortable. I feel like I'm too comfortable. I need to be pushing my edges. I need to be stretched. Like I need to be in my uncomfortable zone because I'm not growing. And I could feel my brain was just like, I need out of this sameness, even though it's literally heaven on earth there. It's, I had a friend say like, it's heaven on earth here, but there's a reason that we leave heaven. And she's like, contrast.
Wow. Yes.
Like, right. Contrast. And so, letting go of this identity of like, having this island home that I know I can go collapse in nature for days and weeks at a time and be perfectly happy mermaiding around to, I need to actually get out of this sort of self-imposed bubble it feels like being relocated to share my gifts in a way of like why I had to leave. But yeah, letting go of this part of me that like needed to stay safe on the island, that knowing no matter where I am, I have the capacity to access safety.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So now that you've been here for a year, or no,
Since
6
July.
months, since July. Can you share a little bit about, so you sort of mentioned it, but like what I'm noticing is that you're going through a transition, stepping into something new. What is the thread that you're holding with all of these, and what is it that's exciting you about the thing that you're embarking on right now?
I would say the thread is embodiment, taking people from dissociation to presence in the body. And the thread is increasing capacity, meaning strengthening the nervous system so that the nervous system can handle life, can handle the ups and downs of life without overwhelm and without collapse. I'll pause there.
Yeah. So for the guys out there, like what is it that they might tune into with what you're saying in terms of like collapse and like something's not going well in their life? Like, can you share a little bit more about how they can use your sort of like modality or what you're sharing to better their life?
Well, it just depends on like what they're working with. So if it's like, we were talking earlier about like, what are these common sort of, core wounds and things that show up for men in life of like, I don't feel good enough, or I'm afraid to be seen, or whatever the core wounds are. I mean, you can name so many of them, right?
Yeah.
Depending on what your history of trauma is,
Right.
So whatever those core wounds are that show up, it's like, how is it impacting your life? And how is it showing up in your body? So that's the main thing to get people to understand is like, there's no separation between your subconscious mind and your inner child and your nervous system and your attachment style, and how you show up in a relationship is all, one and the same. And so there's like a thread of, whenever I say increasing capacity in the nervous system, for men, that I'll just speak to relationships because it's such a big one, which is, how are you showing up? How are you showing up in relationship? Are your relationships healthy? Looking at like very practically, am I showing up particularly, this could be family, friend relationships, romantic relationships. Am I showing up from my wounded little boy that needs external love or validation, or is trying to heal his mother wounds, or am I showing up? Have I done, the work, the deeper work to show up from my healthy man?
Beautiful. I love that. And so we want Dr. Summer to lead us through something that'll allow you to learn what it feels like to experience something. Like, this is one of my goals for sort of this podcast, is that it's not just talk, it's experiential. So can you share a little bit about what the experience is that you're planning on offering on this, and then we can dive into it?
Sure. So I was telling you this earlier, like it came to me a while ago, where I was like, if level 1 is inner child work and reparenting, level 2 is reclaiming erotic innocence. How do I show up like in my erotic energy? How do I contain my erotic energy? How do I learn how to direct that energy? So for the purposes of this podcast, we're working on level 1, which is, I'm going to take you through a somatic reparenting meditation, which is the method I created to heal myself during my divorce, and just ended up creating a whole method around it to take people through developmental stages of trauma. And so it's literally just it's going to look and feel like a guided meditation of taking you through, and we're going to name a couple of these, 2 to 3 of these core wounds that we spoke to that are really common for men. So going with whatever the thing is that shows up for, the listener a lot. And then what are the emotions you feel around that? Where does that live in your body, right? When was the earliest you could remember feeling that? So basically just taking you to an experience of getting you connected to the emotion you feel, where that lives in your body, and then walking you through just a very simple dialogue with your inner child so that you can understand what that wounded inner child, right? That it's like a part that is like emotionally frozen in time. You can understand, what does that part feel? What does that part need? And how can I begin to meet that need myself so that it's not coming out in all these sideways ways in my relationships, right? So it's all of this work. To me, it's like a pathway to self-love, but it's also to understand what are my unmet needs. And it's interesting because different parts of our inner child have different defaults of the nervous system, right? Like you might have a really pissed off, like angry teenager inside you that is like full fight response, and then you might have like, an 8-year-old that feels very abandoned and frozen, and so it just depends on like what's showing up, in your life. And to me, it is like this pathway to self-love and compassion for yourself, because when we're doing this type of work, we need a lot of compassion for ourselves, for our caregivers, for everyone else, we need a lot of compassion. And so it's just I'm a very practical therapist. And so to me, it's a very practical way to get one connected to their emotion and into their body and into, okay, here's how you actually talk to this little one inside that might be screaming at you for your attention, because they will just get typically louder and louder if you keep ignoring them, and self-abandonment is codependency, right? So ways in which we leave, betray, and abandon ourselves. So all that looks like people pleasing. It looks like being the fixer. It looks like not having any boundaries, if that sounds familiar to any of you. So it's really, I also tend to attract a lot of, codependency, clients that are trying to unwind codependency. That's what I needed to unwind, was all the ways in which I abandoned myself and ended up so depleted because of it. And all the ways in which I gave my power and trust over to somebody else instead of listening to my own intuition and my own power and my own body. And so a lot of this work is like, okay, how do I learn how to stop bulldozing over my nervous system? And how do I really start to understand like what my body's trying to tell me in any given moment? Because I can say this with a lot of confidence after 20 plus years in the healing and therapy world, the body is so intelligent. It has its own wisdom, and we just weren't taught like how to access the body's wisdom. It's its own organism. It has its own consciousness. You can have a dialogue with it and think of the body. I believe it's Joe Dispenza that says this, the body is the unconscious mind. And so it's basically a method. Somatic reparenting is a method to communicate with your unconscious mind, because all this work is about bringing what's unconscious to the light, and into your conscious awareness. So it's not running the show.
Right. Beautiful. So so Dr. Summer's going to go into the exercise, and what I'm planning on doing is, while it's on this podcast and this video, I'm also going to extrapolate it. So it'll be separate. So if you've watched this podcast, you can also just do the exercise on its own. So why don't we have you go ahead and lead us through that?
Okay, I'm going to set my timer here. So you'll find a comfortable position, either seated with your feet on the ground, or you can be in a cross-legged position is totally fine. And closing your eyes, hands in your lap, and take a deep breath in, fill up your belly, fill up your ribs and chest. Exhale, make a sound. And do again. Belly, ribs, chest, fill up. Sigh it out. And one more like that, breathing in. Hold it at the top, sip in through a straw. Hold it. Exhale, sigh it out. And then just follow my count. Inhale through your nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it at the top. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale your air. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it at the bottom. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it at the bottom. 4, 3, 2, 1. Last one. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it at the top. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale your air. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it at the bottom. 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a deep breath in. Sigh it out. And as if you could begin to inhale all of your mental energy, all of your spirit in through the crown of your head to the level of your heart. As you exhale, send this energy down to your root. Take a couple breaths like that where you're inhaling into the crown, to the heart, and as you exhale, send this energy down towards the base of your spine. And allow your consciousness to be at the base of your spine, and then see or feel a grounding cord from the base of your spine, sending it down into the core of the earth, past all the surface, the rocks and layers, into the crystalline core, and just for a moment connecting to the essence of Mother Earth, connecting to an essence of anchoring, of safety, of support. You might even feel your sitting bones or your feet get a little heavier. And then inhale this energy back up your grounding cord. You can even imagine it coming up your feet and up your legs into the low belly, and just take a couple breaths like that, drawing it up from the core of the earth all the way up your grounding cord and your legs into your belly. Let it consolidate there for a moment. And then continue to breathe that energy up your central channel. Breathe it up along the front of your spinal column to the top middle of your head. And then just visualizing a golden sphere of light opening just above your head, opening up the crown chakra. Tuning in now to the highest point in the universe you can perceive. And this is into the realm of your spiritual team. So just for a moment, calling on any beings that you see as support for you. This could be guides or angels. Could be loved ones or ancestors, asking for their clarity and their guidance. Take a deep breath. And just see them, feel them surrounding you on all sides. And as you feel ready, beginning to breathe that divine energy down, breathe it down now, back to the top middle of the head, back to the crown. And then continue to breathe it down the center of the brain, the center of the throat, and the center of the heart. And once you get to the heart, take a big breath, expand your heart chakra in all directions, taking a moment to connect to the part of yourself that knows exactly how to hold you with unconditional love, with compassion, and with non-judgment. These next few things that I read, just pull from what resonates with you the most. So what I would like you to tune into is that pattern of not feeling good enough or feeling unworthy. That might be most prominent for you, or it might be feeling confused in connection, like I don't know what I'm doing. Or maybe it's this really self-critical, judgmental part of yourself, that really harsh inner critic. Whatever that thing is that shows up for you, I want you to just call upon that pattern. And so if you had something recent that triggered, let's say the feeling of not feeling good enough, or triggered confusion, or triggered self-criticism, you can call upon that recent scenario, but once you can feel it in the body, just let the story go. Just take a couple breaths and feel into that. And then just asking yourself, just with a sense of curiosity, okay, with this thing that happens for me, this pattern that happens for me, what emotions do I feel? See if you can get a couple emotional adjectives that describe what it is you feel with this pattern that shows up for you sometimes. And just continue to breathe and feel into it. Always getting better at breathing and feeling at the same time. And then once you have the emotion or emotions that you're working with, as if you could swan dive into those emotions with your breath, with your focus, with your intention, begin to breathe and feel and amplify them for about 30 seconds. Ready? Go. Good. And just continue to breathe deeper as you amplify the emotion you're feeling. And then again, just a sense of curiosity. You're just going to ask the body, where do I hold this? Where do I hold this emotion or these emotions in my body? And just see what comes to the forefront of your awareness. And then hone in on the primary location that feels most prominent for you. Even if you get a couple locations, hone in on the primary one that's most relevant to this intention you're working with. And put your awareness there. Get as many details as you can about that location. Is it more towards the front or back of the body? Is it more right or left or central? Does it feel superficial or deep? Might even have the size or shape or color of what you see or feel there that represents what is being held there. Putting all your awareness on that physical location to the best of your ability. Begin to, as you focus on that physical location, breathe and feel into the emotions that you're working with. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds here. Breathe and feel to the best of your ability the emotions you're working with while focused on the physical location of where it's held. Ready? Go. And with a sense of curiosity, you're just going to ask yourself, when is the earliest I can recall feeling this way? When is the earliest I can recall feeling this way? And if you get more than one age, please go to the earliest one. Good. And just see how your inner child comes in. Get as many details as you can about what they look like, what they're wearing, if they're inside or outside, if they're alone or anyone else is around. Using your imagination, take your current adult self right there next to this version of your inner child. Just get down at their level. And in the most authentic way that you can, just let them know that you're there and that you'd love to connect with them. Ask them if that's okay. And see if you can get eye contact with them. If they're at all hesitant to connect with you, just let them know that that's okay, that we're going to take this at their pace. If you're able to get eye contact with them, just say, I'd love to know how you're feeling right now. How are you feeling? Take a breath, receive them, and then mirror back exactly what you just heard them say. I hear you, you're feeling this, and then you'll ask, what do you need right now? And then once they tell you what they need, just mirror back exactly what they just told you that they need. And then I'll give you a couple of minutes for this. But I want you to just take a few minutes and imagine meeting this need. Just let time slow down, let everything else fall away, and just be so present with this part of your inner child. So if they want to be held, you can even wrap your own hands around your arms. Whatever the need is, if they want to play, imagine playing with them. Whatever the need is, just imagine with all of your presence meeting this need and just being so present with them and breathing with them. If there's anything while you're meeting this need that you'd intuitively like to say to your inner child from all of your wisdom and experience as an adult, you can go ahead and do that now. And you can ask the inner child, once you're done sharing, just say, do you have any last message for me right now? Take a deep breath, just really receiving them. And then just feel into your current energy body, your throat, your heart, your solar plexus, your sacral chakra, all of your energy centers, and just ask yourself, where do I feel strong to hold my inner child that sometimes feels this way? And you can even place your hands on that area and just in your own way, letting your inner child know, this is where I feel really strong to hold you. This is where I will always come back to you. Even when I get busy adulting, I will always find my way back to you. And thank you so much for connecting with me, being willing to talk with me, and anything else you'd like to say to close that part of the conversation, letting them know that you'll be back to check in on them. Good. Take a deep breath. Good. And once you've closed that piece of the conversation, you'll just repeat out loud after me. Just say, I now call all parts of my spirit, power, and energy back into my physical body. And breathe in through your crown, through your navel point. Exhale this energy down to your root, into your feet. And then again, from the core of your being, I now call all parts of my spirit, power, and energy back into my physical body. And breathe in to your crown, into your navel point. Exhale this energy down your legs and down the bottoms of your feet. Send it out like roots, as deep as you can get it into the core of the earth. Just take an extra inhale and exhale here just to descend the energy all the way down. And then one more time like you mean it. I now call all parts of my spirit, power, and energy back into my physical body. And breathe in. Exhale this energy down. Send it out your feet like roots, as deep and as wide and as far reaching as you can see or feel those roots go into the core of the earth. And just connecting you back in to present moment awareness, to your physical body, to a sense of groundedness. And just connecting to what you feel now, whether it's more equilibrium or homeostasis or joy or more clarity, whatever it is. I want you to take 30 seconds. 30 seconds is all it takes for the nervous system to receive an imprint of regulation. So I want you to, for 30 seconds, savor and expand and imprint this feeling into your body. So do it by taking some deep breaths here for the next 30 seconds. Ready, go. Letting this feeling expand through your breath in your physical body and in your auric field. Understanding you have this power to make your energy bigger, to take up a little more space. Good, let's take one more breath together. Exhale, sigh it out. Good, and on the count of 3, we're just going to merge your unconscious into your conscious awareness, opening your eyes on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Open your eyes, just let them blink open. Don't look at the screen if you're on one. Just take your neck, look to the left, rotate to the right a couple times, back and forth. And then just any movements your body intuitively wants to do, feel free to stretch. Make noises, grab some water, and coming back as you're ready.
Wow. That was phenomenal.
Yay,
yeah,
awesome.
That was fun. That was really great. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The moment where you asked, what does the child want, or what does the part of me want? It was my 10-year-old self. And the minute I said, what do you want? It just jumped into me and just hugged me, and it started to like cry, and it was really, really sweet.
Yeah. So often they just want to be held.
Yeah.
And they just want your presence more times than not.
Yeah. So sweet. I feel so good.
Good. So good. Yeah. And because you wanted me to keep it at 20 minutes, I cut it a little bit short, but you all could do this in your own way. Now that you know how to connect, is the one piece is asking the inner child, would you like for me to check in on you regularly? And then you get them, usually it's like, yeah.
Totally.
and then it's like, okay, well, how often would you like that to happen? And then you just get really specific, like make them tell you the number of days a week, how many minutes a day. If it's like a ridiculous request, like 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, which sometimes when you start this work, the inner child can be quite needy.
Yeah.
And that you have to there can be a negotiation that happens of like, I hear you. You're wanting it every day, all day. And what's doable for me is this, And so you have a little compromise about what that is. And maybe it ends up being 3 or 4 days a week for 5 to 20 minutes at a time. And then you ask them, okay, great. Got it. Now, how do you want me to check in with you? And you let them tell you. And so it's very specific, Sometimes it's more play. Sometimes it's more nature. Sometimes it's just check in with me right before you go to bed. Or sometimes it's just do it in your morning meditation, so you just let them tell you. And so that's one piece that makes it really practical of like bringing this work into your life, of how you begin to integrate your inner child, into your life so that you're consistently meeting the need.
Amazing. What have you, so just so they sort of are aware of like what they could see happen in their life if they continue doing this, like what are some of the things that you've seen that, either yourself or the people that you've taught, like what are some of the things that you've seen happen for them in their life?
I would say, I'll just use myself as an example, which is, really getting me out of being so anxiously attached, which just means grasping, and needing from others, and reaching for this sense of like reassurance and external validation from other people, which can come out in a lot of different ways, a lot of sideways ways, right? Which is it's a self-abandoning behavior, right? And so it's what I really see, like if I were to really like zoom out and sum it up, it's energy conservation. It's like, because most people come to me and they're exhausted because they're just like, I just absolutely can't. Can't keep doing whatever I'm doing because it's exhausting me. I feel depleted. I'm overwhelmed. I'm anxious all the time. I'm super distracted, whatever it is, And so it's like developing a healthy adult, and it's, to me, reparenting work is, how do I develop this healthy feminine, like healthy mother, divine mother inside of myself, but also this healthy masculine, divine masculine inside of myself, because we all have both, right?
Absolutely.
And for me, it was like, I actually needed to develop a healthy masculine inside myself because I didn't have any imprint of what that was as a kid. And so it looked like me, like not knowing anything about boundaries. I didn't know how to create a container for myself, And so for me, developing healthy masculine was becoming absolutely unwilling to keep putting my inner child into toxic dynamics. It became so clear. I was like, oh, I'm so tired. And it's like, and creating boundary for myself.
Yeah.
I am unwilling. It's a hard no for me at this point to engage with this unhealthy dynamic, with this toxic person or toxic dynamic or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then creating some sort of containment for my massive feminine emotions. It's like, I'm like, how do I? Because I was always like wanting him to hold it, or deal with my massive emotional intensity whenever I didn't know how to contain it myself. It's a practice of like, how do I learn how to contain my own chaos So I'm not expecting this person to do it for me,
Right.
you know?
Beautiful.
And so, yeah, it's like that healthy masculine for me was a big deal. It was a big deal. Cause it's like drew a hard line in the sand for me around, I'm unwilling to keep putting my inner child through this. I can see how every time I come into connection with this person, it completely dysregulates me. And I'm just unwilling to keep throwing my inner child in this dynamic. And so that to me is healthy masculine, you know, developing healthy boundaries, a sense of containment, some sort of structure for yourself where you can deal with yourself. And sometimes that's like creating a men's group or women's group, or, you know, so it's also, how do I bring myself into connection to receive, you know, the support I really need? Because I know that my nervous system needs to heal in connection, because let's face it, all of our trauma was in connection. So we need to heal in connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to doing this work, where can they find you and work with you if they wanted to? They're like, oh, I want to work with Dr. Summer. Where would they find you?
I'm pretty active on Instagram, which is dr_summer, SOMER_Nicole. You can send me, you know, text or audio through there. Then it's easy for me to get back. And then my website is Soma, SOMA, healingcollective.com.
Beautiful. And the way that you spell her Summer is SOMER, just so you know. Yeah. It's going to be all in the stuff in the description, so you can find it there as well. And yeah, so we're also going to do a longer exercise and Q&A with her in the men's community. So join then. Don't know when we're going to do it, but we're going to do it. And thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This was amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You're a great podcaster, speaker. You have a lot of fun just fun to share and talk through with you. And supporting, it's so important. Thank you for the work that you do, supporting people come into a regulated state and find freedom in their life. Yeah.
All about liberation, going from survival mode to creation mode, really.
Yeah. Any last words you'd like to leave the audience with?
I mean, I think that was kind of my last words. It's like, this is all about going from survival mode to creation mode. Because when we're stuck in a chronic survival state, we're in a defensive state, and we can't access creative solutions or positive outcomes in the mind. And so that's the importance of the work, is how do I get myself out of chronic survival so that I can access my life force energy, my creative energy, which is also my sexual energy, so that I can do what I'm here to do in the world, what my soul's here to do, so that I can do that thing, so I can create the thing that my soul's here to do. And so to do that, we need to be out of survival mode, and we kind of need all hands on deck, you know? And so, it's about getting people also in a place where you can access joy and beauty and pleasure again, you know, because when you've been stuck in those states for so long, it's very easy to be oriented towards negativity. And so a lot of this work is orienting ourselves to delight and pleasure and joy again, you know, because we've been so dysregulated for so long. And so it changes everything. I see like the nervous system work, it changes everything. Your relationship with your body, your relationship with yourself, and then your relationships with other people.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye for now.